Well, I talked about how critical fishing line can be in the performance of the baits that you're using and how it can either hurt or help you with those techniques. And I got a lot of comments from viewers specifically asking me about knots. So if the line makes a difference, do the knots that you choose to use with certain baits or certain techniques come into play and either help or hurt you? And in my opinion, the answer is yes for that. But I don't necessarily think the knot is nearly as critical as the line that you choose to use. Today's video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app. This has had an amazing new update. As you guys know, I love the water clarity feature. As you can see right here, we're looking at Grand Lake, which just had a whole pile of rain come into it. It went from being really clear to having a lot of dirty water coming in the bottom end of it. Just an amazing feature to be able to determine where the clear water is versus the muddy water. So Deep Dive has just also introduced stream flow. Now this is a really cool feature that shows all of the water input coming into certain reservoirs and the amount of water coming in. So they measure it in cubic feet per second. You can see in this case, this is just a small creek, but then you can see the projected as well as the previous flows. If we move up the lake here, get into one of the larger rivers coming in, you can see here that we've got 490 cubic feet per second. And then it shows you that there's not much of a change expected. Now, if there's some rainfall coming, I'm sure those projections will change. If we scoot on over here to take a look at Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake, much larger river systems, the Tennessee River, you can see what the projected outflow is going to be there, 28,000 cubic feet per second. Go check the Cumberland River here. We got 9.4 thousand cubic feet per second. Just an amazing feature that allows you to see all of the different water flows coming into the different parts of the lake. You can see which ones might be the most affected, which ones won't be affected, see what the projected outflow schedules are. A major feature to help you catch more fish. And that's on top of some of the other new features like the wind effects. Now, the wind effects is really cool because we've had wind effects as part of the app in the past, but all it did is show where the wind was hitting the shoreline the most, as you can see from the dots, the orange and bright red dots, which indicate where the wind is really striking. But now the wind feature also indicates what the wave action is like on the lake itself. So some of the features you're going to get from this is determining where to get from place to place safely by avoiding the heavy, rough water conditions. You'll be able to determine where you may have some of the strongest current flow and some of the places where you can fish to stay protected. Now, along with that, you still have some of my favorite features like the patterns that you've got on the lake that indicate the best baits and lures to fish with. You've also got the water inflow app, which shows you where a bunch of the rain input comes in. That can be an amazing pattern to fish throughout the year. Just a great feature to have. So many positive features anytime you're fishing or using the Deep Dive app. Just points you in the right direction to catch more fish. Whether you're a tournament angler or a local fun fisherman that's just out to catch a few fish, the Deep Dive app will help you catch more fish next time you're out on the water. So if we're going to talk about fishing knots, I'm going to really break this down a little bit different than I think what a lot of people would say, which is they jump right into the knots themselves. I'm not really talking about specific knots. There are hundreds of different types of fishing knots to use. I think some are really important for some techniques, and I think a lot of times you could really choose almost any knot and it would work. What I really like to break down the knots though into are one of three categories. You either have a loop knot, a single strand knot, or a double strand knot. And what I mean by a double strand knot is you have two loops that go through the hook eye. In this case, I'll show you, you won't be able to see it, but I've just got a double stranded knot on this hover rig. A single strand is one loop of line goes through the hook eye, and then you have your loop knot, which is where you've actually got a loop that goes through the hook eye, but the knot is up above it. Now, I think here there's a couple of things really that are important to recognize. Generally speaking, if you go from a loose knot, which is what I would consider a loop knot, meaning the knot is not cinched tight on the hook eye, you're going to allow the bait itself to have more motion on that line. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have more movement. It just means more motion, meaning the bait itself will move freely without being hindered by that line until it actually puts tension on the line. A double-stranded knot generally means you have a lot less movement on the hook eye. It will cinch a lot tighter, so therefore the bait itself has to move the line fully in order to get that movement. To me, there's a couple of critical things that need to be looked at when choosing the right knot for the baits that you're using. Are you looking for more movement? Are you looking for the bait to actually generate movement in a small confined place? Like, one of the reasons why anglers love to throw a loop knot with their jig head minnow is because they're shaking that minnow so fast and so rapid that they don't really want the minnow to be darting. They want the minnow just to roll. And by having it on a loop knot, you have the hook eye, which actually can swing free on that loop itself. So you don't technically have the line creating any hindrance to getting that minnow to move back and forth. Anglers aren't looking to get the minnow to be darting and creating a lot of erratic movement. What they're looking for is just to get that rocking side to side. So if it can swing freely on that loop knot, the idea is you get a little bit more movement. Now, I want to point out, I don't think with any choice of knot you're going to see a huge difference. I think you're going to see a little bit of a difference that really can help in some situations, but I think the knot is not nearly as critical as line choice, like I said before. But with a loop knot, generally speaking, what you're getting from that is a little bit more actual movement, side-to-side movement from the bait itself. You may get a little bit more forward movement or side-to-side movement, but as soon as it puts tension on that line, I don't think it's any different than having a single-stranded knot. The key to having a double-stranded knot, in my opinion, is the strength of that knot. It's abrasion resistance. So for me, I'm looking to use a double loop knot. I use the Miller knot anytime I'm fishing heavier cover and I'm fishing something that doesn't really impart action on its own. I'm the one imparting the action. So maybe I'm fishing a jig. In that case, a jig, I want the abrasion resistance because I'm probably putting it into cover, so I want a stronger knot. And I don't necessarily need something that is going to have extra movement because the jig's movement is being imparted by my movement of the rod tip. A single-stranded knot, a lot of people would say, well, where does that fall in the middle? Well, in my opinion, I've kind of really moved away from it. Now, I do think if you're fishing more moving baits that are generally more in open water, something say like a swim bait in clear open water, I think you're fine throwing a single-stranded knot. But in my personal preference, I go to one of the two extremes. I either use the a double line-through knot, the Miller knot, for pretty much anything where I'm actually throwing it into cover, ripping it through cover, where I'm looking for something that has a little bit more strength. Or if a lot of my finesse presentations, if I'm actually looking to get a little bit more movement with things like a jig head minnow, where I want the bait to have a little bit freer movement, that's when I'd go with a loop knot. I have really moved away from just tying a single strand because I don't think it has a genuine benefit to either case. Now, I do think a single strand knot, in a lot of instances, something like the fisherman knot, can be a very easy, simple knot to tie. That is a good knot to start with, but generally speaking, with respect to the techniques that I'm fishing these days, I tend to go with one over the other. And just to give a comparison, like I was saying, so this is the Miller knot on a hover rig, and then I've got the loop knot. So if I compare these two, you can see the resistant, if I can get these to line up. Let's see if I can do that. So you can see the overall knot strength. The double knot is holding, you know, they're both right in the same place, but the double knot is holding the hover rig hook up slightly more. It's just, it has a better hold on that hook eye. So in order to get the movement to go side to side, you need to move the line, or you need to put tension on the line to get it to move. Versus, you know, if I'm just throwing the straight loop knot, you know, you can see there's a difference there. If I hold it right about there, you should be able to see it. This one is just really swinging freely on that loop knot. There's no resistance from the line. And it's something to note, But I don't think it's as important as the line choice in itself. I think your overall line choice will impact the performance a lot more. And I think as long as you're tying a knot that you feel comfortable in, that is tied appropriately and has good knot strength and matches the technique that you're fishing, you're probably going to put yourself in a good position. But I thought I'd do this video because I got a lot of comments off of the video talking about line choices where they asked specifically about the knot. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please hit the like button, subscribe, share, and stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.